Hi, welcome to a rather gloomy and windy short game area here at Stanton Golf Club. Today I'm going to be going through my basic golf skills. This one's going to be the chip and run. I'm going to talk you through the fundamentals of the shot, so the contact, the distance control, and also the directional control. Hope you enjoy. So how to describe the chip and run? So the contact requirements for the shot is to hit the ball first and the ground second at the centre of the club face. How I'm going to describe this and how to do it and how to set up for that would be to make sure that the lead shoulder, which is just here, the left shoulder, is in front of the ball as we look down. So the lead shoulder is where we should hit the ground. That's the centre of the arc. If we draw that yellow line straight down, you can see that is in the target side of the golf ball. As you can see, with golf's played on a tilted angle, so if we refer to the picture on the left here, you can see here that the shaft plane is up through there. If we drew this arc on the ground that the club head swings on, there's two actual lines. This is two circles here. There's one for the club, and there's one for the hands. You can see here. You can see this on the right as well. So the radius of the swing is from the centre of the circle to the circumference, and this is the lead arm of the shaft that forms the radius. So the idea for this shot is to make sure that the radius stays constant. As I'm setting up here, you can see the handle slightly forward. You can see that radius is slightly slanted, so it's actually building in this downward attack from the get-go. Okay, which is the perfect way to set that up. So the ball position would be kind of 3 or 4 balls back from the lead shoulder, or as an easy one to get would be the centre of the sternum. It's a good place to have that. I'm just going to first of all talk about the right image. I'm going to set up with my weight on the left, so that helps me get my lead shoulder forward as I've described. But the idea for this shot is to keep the head stable. So I'm going to draw a box around my head, and how I would do that is I'd move the left shoulder down and up. So in the backswing, to keep the shoulders turning in a circle, I would tilt the shoulder down to the left, and in the downswing I would then tilt that shoulder back to the setup position, and then furthermore the lead shoulder is going to move back up, so that shoulder turn is staying centered. That's allowing me here to bottom the club out after the golf ball. The further requirement to hit the ball solid, again the first fundamental would be to make sure that the radius stays constant. So if we have a look at this swing here, you're going to see my elbows stay very much the same distance apart, keeping my arms straight. As you can see here, my arms are going to stay straight all the way through this shot, so that's enabling me to make sure that the width of the swing stays very constant throughout. So it's going to enable me to hit the ground, which is super important for contact, and also not widen that out, so I'm going to hit the ground first. So a small little piece that I would put in here also to manage the radius would be a slight bending of the wrists in the backswing. Swing here, I'm going to slightly bend the right wrist back, and then I'm going to maintain this. So I call this a flying wedge. If you imagine that wedge shape here, I'm going to maintain that. See here, through into impact, I've actually created that wedge is staying very stable, so my hands are like a clamp on the golf club. That's allowing, again, that's making sure it's just another safe piece in there that I'm going to make sure I'm going to hit the ground after the golf ball. As you can see, I'm demonstrating that nicely just there. As I hold it through, you can see that right wrist has maintained some of its wedge. That's enabling me now to hit the ground after the golf ball. Talking about the image on the left here now, so one of the setup requirements for this shot is actually to move a little closer to the golf ball. This is something that a lot of good players talk about rather than a full shot. One of the reasons why we'll hear players say they move closer for a chip shot for more control. What this is actually going to do for a full shot, this arc, if we draw it on the ground, if the tilted angle is slightly more angled, it's going to be more angular, and that's something in a full shot that we need. We're going to get the hands working in on the arc more. It's going to be a power component. For this shot, we don't actually need to do that, so we can move closer because we don't need to create the power. And one of the benefits from this is actually going to increase, as we refer to the image on the right, it's going to steepen our swing up, so it's going to enable us now to hit down a little bit more on the golf ball. Okay, so we're going to get this more downward and upward version here. So standing close to the ball is going to reduce the power element. It's also going to make sure that your vertical swing plane, as it's called, so if we drew this in here, if we stood further away, it would certainly be more on this angle. If we stand closer, the club's going to work much more on a linear angle. It's going to work much more straight through, and the angle to the ground is going to be slightly steeper. This is going to steep. The further I push this up, the steeper the angle of attack is going to get, which is super beneficial for making sure the load point is after the golf ball. So standing nice and close is going to get that club working more linear. Also going to find it a lot easier for us to keep the face squarer to the arc throughout that. Okay, so distance control. How I'm going to control the distance once I've mastered the strike is actually the length of the arc. So that would be how far back this club head's going back and through. What I want you to do doing this is I want you to make sure that the club, however far back it goes, it comes through the same distance. That's going to regulate how much power that you apply through this shot. And simply I would gradually make this arc shorter for short shots, slightly longer for mid shots, and then that arc much longer for the longer chip and runs there. So it's 3 shots here for you, just out towards there. I'm going to go with a short arc, so this is going to be a shorter swing. See that ball carried just onto the right onto the fringe. I'm going to go with the medium arc, and again going to control the speed and the tempo. Okay, so I like to count 1,000 at the top, 1,000, 2,000. Okay, that ball was then pitching halfway. And then the third one's going to be the longest arc. Again, the same tempo, 1,000, 2,000. And you can see there that those balls have travelled slightly different trajectories. The distance has been varied just by lengthening the arc of the swing. Another way that you can do this is to stick to one arc. So you could find an arc that you're quite comfortable with. So I like a pocket to pocket. You can actually vary the loft of the golf club. So we steep in the face with a pitching wedge or a 9-iron that's going to get the ball going out further, and then start to create a little bit more loft with the lob wedges and the sand wedges, and that's going to take that distance and ball speed away. So the directional control, if we look at the image on the left here, a super simple concept this one would be to keep the hands and arms working around the body in an arc, as you can see here. So as I tilt my shoulder down to the left on this tilted angle on my spine, I'm going to allow, you can see here, my hands to start working around the front side of that arc on the way through. So my club is working around also with the hand path. My club is not working one way, so it's not shooting out to the right, which I see a lot of people do, pushing the hands out to the right also, just continuing to go down this line. We're going to allow, if you imagine this V shape on the ground here, this grid shape, we're just going to allow the hand path to work around the body. And you can see how it's allowing that club to go back and up that. And the ideal concept for this is to make sure, and the feeling is there's no twisting around on the shaft. So we're not rolling the shaft. We don't need to do that. We don't need to hinge the wrists. We're just going to keep this club face nice and square to the arc, like an elongated putting stroke. You see here, a nice place to look at there would be as the club gets to about waist high. That club face is looking more like my spine angle. It's a really good indicator that the club face is square to the arc. As we come through into impact, you can see here that the club face is staying stable and square to that arc, and as we move around the corner, exactly the same thing here, that the club face is starting to look more like my spine angle, as you can see here. So that's a really good indication that I'm controlling the direction of this shot very well. With a nice straight swing direction, so there's little or no curve on this golf ball whatsoever, so the ball is going to land on the ground and not spin any direction away from the hole. As you can see here, just really nice stable arc around the body. Well guys, thanks for watching the video. Appreciate taking the time. Please feel free to like and subscribe down at the bottom there on my channel. Much more content coming up over the summer, much more of these essential golf skill videos plus more. Thanks for watching.